I could drink to excess and just keep going. But the minute I left this environment and I went out of the environment, it was like blackout. Consequences started happening probably like high school, like junior, senior year, nothing crazy. Got to college, found out some more fun ways to consume alcohol. And, my big thing, and I don't say this as like, I say this to share this, is like, I would go places, I would take myself there, and then when I was ready to leave, I left. It didn't matter what condition I was in, and I would drive. And that obviously not recommended. My journey was, consequences started coming a little bit more like frequently.
Okay.
And I started to realize that a lot of other people that were my age were, starting to settle down or going to grad school or getting married or having children. And I was like, oh man, that sounds terrible. Like who wants to do that? So I found people that were younger than me that drank like me. I always share that, when I was younger, there was all of these guys that were around that had graduated maybe a year or two that was still kind of around town. And like the girls in our grade would always go hang out with them. And I'm like, why are these guys hanging around? And then I turned into that guy.
Yeah.
And I became that guy. And then I, moved to Connecticut, and I called it like that triangle of terror, where I could be home and visit my family. I could go to Stamford, Connecticut, and I could go to the city, and I would just
Oh my God, I had a
bounce.
similar triangle of terror. I
Correct.
never heard that. That's awesome.
And
how old are you around this time?
I'm like young to mid 20s.
Okay.
And, I had a couple DUIs by then, and a lot of the things when people or, you're friends with people, you can kind of get away with things. And that fueled so-and-so will take care of this. Like I remember the first major traffic stop that was like non-alcohol related. It's a crazy story for like another time, but the cop that arrested me was the same cop that ended up this is wild. The same cop that ended up being cellmates with Weinstein.
Oh, wow.
Who may or may not have.
Right. We don't know.
Crazy stuff. But I remember I got like four tickets in one shot, and I went in front of the judge, and it happened to be a judge of whose kids I had like coached, and he looked at me, he's like, Matt, like, what are you doing here? And he, the cop didn't show up, and he goes, I basically made it go away.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, just be a little bit more, aware. Like it really hurts me to see this, and like, I know you're a good guy, and you just made poor decisions, and I walked away with it. So it was like these little like slaps on the wrist, and then they got more serious, and a couple DUIs in, and I thought like, I never drank all the time, but anytime I drank, you never knew it was going to go a day, a night, a day, 2 days, 3 days, and I would end up in places that I really had no business being in. I woke up in places where I'm like, I have no idea how I got here. Did I drive here? Did I come with somebody else? Like I was a blackout drinker.
Right. That's happened to me a couple of times.
And I share like if we were sitting here and we were drinking, I'd be fine. I could drink to excess and just keep going. But the minute I left this environment and I went out of the environment, it was like blackout, like don't remember anything. And there was like periods of that, and then you could talk to your friends, you're like, dude, where'd you go, where'd you end up? And like
that's the worst, actually, those like thoughts of like, what did I do last night,
right?
Who did I offend, or then the cringe moments where you like may remember like little pieces of something,
right? And then it gets confirmed by your friends, or like, hey man, you disappeared from the bar, and when you're in the city, you can get on the wrong train.
Oh yeah.
Real easy. And there was times where I ended up in different parts of the city, or the outliers of this, or out the towns outside the city, even driving home from bartending. And I used to bartend in the city. I ended up in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like, and I take the wrong exit and be like, how did I get here?
Right.
And that was just like the worst part about it.